So apologies to anybody who has subscribed to my channel and you're excited or you would like some more content. I'm actually still in the middle of a very big health journey that I've been through. So at times I have sort of a setback, and that means I can't create during that time. So things have to slow down for me. Hence the consistency is not as ideal as we would like. But what I wanted to do is share with you a little story around what I have been doing to help my healing process. I will start with what actually happened. Okay, so I was misdiagnosed for about 6 months, and I was in chronic pain. I couldn't get up, I could barely walk. The only thing that was helping me was actually weed edibles, because nothing else could get rid of the pain. I was misdiagnosed during that process and had a couple of different surgeries. After surgery, I had a massive bleed out from one of my wounds, which then led me to be severely anemic. I went into hypovolemic shock. After this, I had returned to hospital, had a blood transfusion. When I had the transfusion, I reacted to the blood, which meant my systemic body was having a huge meltdown while, there's blood going through my entire system and my blood's fighting that blood. So it was pretty destructive and intense symptomatically, while I was also coping with the pain that I had already gone through up until that point, which was still misdiagnosed. Thanks to that process of the blood transfusion and having to go back and forth from the hospital with the symptoms, they finally decided to put me through the CT scanner. Once they did that, they found that the real problem was actually not the issue that they thought it was. It was a 7-centimeter cyst on my ovary. Because they thought it could have been cancer, they took the whole ovary tube and my gallbladder at the same time, which they thought was the problem. And yeah, specialists looked at it and it actually was fine. They didn't need to take that. So in the end, I finally get round to having a double surgery to take those things out, but you could probably imagine the state of health that my body was already in after the prolonged sickness and the destruction of the transfusion stuff. So after that, I had surgery, very unwell, and came back out. Obviously, my body is now sort of trying to support itself with a new hormonal system and new digestive system. And it took a little while for my body to sort of process the shock of that. I had gone through quite a lot of sort of severe trauma through all of that. It took me months before I could lift my arms without feeling like vomiting. All sorts of stuff had happened from surgery. So not long after that, I eventually decided to start the contraception because I had been bleeding since surgery. With my hormones being dropped to having half because one of my ovaries was taken, I couldn't raise my hormone levels enough for bleeding to stop. So I decided, okay, sure, I'll do the Western thing. I'll take some medications. And when I took those medications, it ended up causing me to have adrenal crashes. So what happens when you take the contraception is that it suppresses your male or your androgen hormones, and it causes your adrenals to work harder. Now, given how long and severe everything had already been, my adrenals really didn't need that. So I then ended up in approximately 4 months or longer of a total adrenal crash. I still couldn't get up. Here we are like nearly 2 years later, and it didn't get any better. And I said to the doctor, I was like, look, the only thing differently that I have done is take that contraception. all of my blood work lined up with it being the contraception. So I came off of it, and after that my body started to find its new rhythm with its new amount of hormones. So it's kind of like I've been shifting through perimenopause alongside healing from the chronic trauma and distress of being flawed every 3 weeks or every 3 months and not being able to get back up until something else happens and then back down again. Through all of that, my brain function got severely damaged from it. So you can imagine the amount of cortisol and stress hormones and pain regulation was just not really happening. So my body went into survival mode through that. It was like, well, you don't need your brain function. You don't need to think about how to write. You don't need to think about how to string a sentence together when all you're doing right now is surviving and getting through this. So I came off of the contraception just to find out whether or not I was right about what was causing my adrenal crashes. And when I came off of it, I was like, hey, I seem to have more energy and I seem to be not hitting the floor. I tested it again by taking the contraception again, and lo and behold, I was smashed back down by my adrenals again. And so I stopped taking it. Now, I have been off of all medications since October last year, and over that period of time my body has had to adjust to the hormone levels, and because I don't have enough anymore, I've sort of gotten to a systematic baseline, but my brain is still trying to refire again after everything that it went through. Okay, so that sums up what has happened for me the last 2.5, nearly 3 years. The last 6 months has been stable because I've come off of everything, and I still have lots to heal from. My whole right hand side of my body is still very tight and torn from having to brace myself and hold myself throughout chronic sickness. It's very easy for overload to happen physically. If I do too much on one day, I will be absolutely smashed the next day and totally exhausted. So I started trying new things, like 1 day on and 1 day off, and that worked really well. And I have to have 1 week every month that keeps me nice and stable in my physical condition, my physical health. So during that rest week, I will try to be a little bit more creative and use that time with creative activities or music and things like that. But I have found through this process, because I had been knocked down every time I tried to get back up, now when I have certain ailments that start to come back up, or I've got too many appointments all at one time, there's the physical side of that trauma that still has to be healed. And so I have the opportunity again to heal those things. So at the moment I have to work on my right hand side with my muscles, and I stretch them regularly because they've shortened from bracing, from not being able to walk, from not being able to move my body. And yeah, if I heavy lift, then that whole right hand side is already shortened, so it becomes quite painful. There is a little question mark around whether or not I have some hernias from my surgeries, but we'll find that out very soon because I have some ultrasounds in a couple weeks. So yeah, you can see how overall, like the brain function, the body function, how everything has gone through such a huge process, and I am seeing the progress every step that I make. So that sums up sort of why I have not quite got the consistency with sharing content, and when they do get created and when they come, it is during my energetic times. I'm still with an ebb and a flow that doesn't completely make sense, and it changes, and it still changes. But what's beautiful about the process and the progress is that now I have a deeper and a softer relationship with those changes. So when my body starts to say, actually, I can't do this, it's okay now. I'm not fighting the process like I was a year ago while still in that trauma space of like, oh my God, no, what's happening? Trying to cling to safety and the earth and security. Now when it's happening, I'm like, okay, I can slow down and I can do this. So meeting my limits has been an incredibly difficult thing for me because of the fact that I'm 31. Before all of this, I could manage a plate full of millions of different things, and I could achieve and access different parts of my mind and my body, and my reserve was untapped potential. There was no end to my reserve. And now my reserve is about 50% of that. And it doesn't work the same. So while I'm accepting it, it's this weird sort of coming and going in the mind, because the mind is still under the belief system that it's 31, that it has all of this energy and reserve that it used to have. So it's just trying to sort of access that point within the mind to sort of slow down and catch up with the body, which is saying no. I can only hold 2 plates now. I can't hold 5, and that's okay. But I'm getting better at it, and I do honestly think that it is a very humbling experience to be forced into a physical capacity that is beyond your physical age, and having to accept the reality of that. Like, I was expendable, definitely. I'm not anymore. And it's humbling. It sure is, for the ego. But hey, still doing some cool stuff, and yeah, I'm very excited at the moment because my limitations are slowly, as they have been the last 6 months, every 3 months I've seen lots of progress, and at the moment that progress is being shown in my mind's ability to analyze. Before I got sick, I was very, very quick and sharp at being able to look at a problem and see it from many different views and many different angles, and I would be able to do that in a split second. I could look at 30 different potential outcomes based on the track that I was working down, and I haven't been able to do that in the last couple of years, and this is very, very slowly over the last 4 to 5 days has been coming back. So I'm holding on to that, and I'm probably holding on a little too tight, but it's exciting for me because that clarity and analysis was something that I really valued. I didn't know very many people who could analyze as fast as I could and come to secure decision. So it's been hard for me to make a decision because I can't like look at all of the avenues as quickly. It's like my brain has just been clogged up with fog, and yeah, slowly coming back over the last 4 days, so I'm very happy. Okay, so that's a little bit about me, why things are a little bit slow, and I'll keep showing up when I can, as I can, because I enjoy it, because it's fun, and I need stuff to do. I find it stimulating, and I always enjoy sharing, educating, and empowering, because, yeah, what else is life for? Okay, if you guys have any questions about my journey, about my health, where it's at now, feel free to ask. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to start dropping some stages, some videos on stages of my health journey, and not the trauma stuff, we've heard enough about that, but about the healing process and the tools that I have used along the way to help myself, so that you can understand maybe some things that you could use for yourself or to share with somebody that you know that is chronically sick. But that is what I intend on also sharing, some tools in my journey, so that you can see how amazing you could be if you just, you know, try some stuff, do the exercises, do the activities, and believe in yourself, because the only barrier to healing and to transforming is your belief. Trust me. Okay. I like your faces. See you later.